Hi, welcome to the L Cube Show. Today's guest is a woman entrepreneur, we could say. She is the founder of Chittam. It's basically she's trying to inculcate the traditions and behavioral attitudes and um, concentration of the kids into the books. From what I understand, she's trying to improve a child's mentality, behavior, traditions, and our ancient scriptures, our heritage, our culture. Let us know more about it by asking Sharanya. Please do watch the podcast until the end. Please do watch it or listen to it while you're cooking, while you're working, while you're driving. You can listen to the podcast while you're driving. Do not watch while you're driving, though. Please do subscribe to the L Cube Show. Thank you so much. Hi, Sharanya. Welcome to the L Cube Show.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming. I'm really glad that you accepted and you came, because it's a really important topic we're going to discuss. Viewers, please do stick to your phones or your TVs. This is really important for your kids. We did podcast on kids behavior and what are the do's and don'ts, but whatever you're trying to do, she's a founder of Chittam. Chittam is basically storybooks, puzzles, reading, drawing. Oh my God, I was trying to make a whole picture out of it. But what I understood is that you're trying to make the behavioral right for the kid and understand the traditions and culture in front of them at such age and improve their concentration. So you tell me, what in Chittam, how do you translate Chittam in English? But
So
what is it?
Chittam just means mind. The
Oh,
reason we have named our term as Chittam is because in Yoga Sutra, the first two verses actually talk about Chittam.
okay.
So the first one says Chitta Shuddhi, which is purification of your mind. The
Yes.
second verse is Chitta Vriddhi Nirodha. So these are the two main things. Chitta Vriddhi Nirodha means stillness of your mind. How
Wow.
do you just still your mind? Now, these two are the primary foundational pillars for you to practice yoga and become successful in life.
Okay.
Right? So it's all in your mind. That is one. The second is we are also, through this company, our premise is we are trying to empower children, enhance their mental strength and character through cultural rootedness.
Okay.
So, strongly believe being very rooted in your culture and learning about the Indian culture in all its facets gives one the mental strength and builds one's character.
Okay.
Hence, we have named the firm Chittam.
Okay, so when you said Indian culture, are you trying to bring in stories which we can tell the kids this generation from the scriptures, basically, right?
So, see, culture. So, let's understand this in
Culture,
two
yes.
parts. Right?
Mhm.
One, I said, how do you enhance mental strength?
Strength.
Why do you need the mental strength to
Mhm.
handle your stresses?
Yes.
Right? So we have to understand what is stress and what is culture and
Okay.
how the two are interconnected. So
Okay.
that's how we will go into it.
Okay.
First, let's very shortly describe stress from a physiological standpoint.
Right.
When there is any kind of a situation where you are under stress, what does it mean? What does your body do when you are under stress?
Yeah.
When it basically stops all the other unimportant
It
things.
confuses, right? It gets confused.
It gets confused, yes, but here's what our body is actually a brilliant machine, right? So, for example, let us say you are being attacked by a lion.
Okay.
Okay. Now, at that point, what does your body do? Does it spend all your energy on digesting your food? No.
No.
From where do you get that adrenaline rush and you have so much power in your legs to run from there?
Yes.
Right? That's the body's magic that is
Right.
happening. That is the physiology.
Okay.
Right? So, our body, when there is something in our brain which says, oh, fight or flight response, right? So, when that happens, all your unimportant, at that moment, whatever is unimportant, your body is not going to care about growing your muscles, the body is not going to care about digesting your food, nothing.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So what does your body do? It gets all the energy that it can, all the blood rushes to the muscles of your legs so you can run fast.
Right.
Now imagine children who are growing, who have to have the balance of their growth, right? Where your body should be naturally spending a lot of time building your muscles, expanding your bones, growing your brain capacity, all of this, but this brain is constantly under pressure, under stress.
Right.
Imagine what will happen to the growth of that child.
Yes.
Okay, so that is the physiology aspect of why stress affects a child much more than an adult.
Okay.
Right? So let's understand the stress first.
Right.
Now let us understand culture. And here I'm going to quote my mentor and advisors, Mrs. Hema Hari and Mr. D.K. Hari, who are the founders of Bharat Gyan. They are doing an amazing work in this space. Now, Kalachar is the word from which the word culture has come.
Yes.
It's the root of that culture. The word kalachar is what is culture.
Yes.
Now, what is the fundamental root word of kalachar? It's achar. We would have heard people say, use the word, oh, we are acharam. It is thought to be as orthodox. It has been converted or synonymous with orthodox, but that's not the case.
That's not, yeah.
Achar just means that which came to be. That's all it means. Now, what happens is this achar is over a period of time. People have observed certain practices and they have come to say that these are certain practices that's good for yourself, your family. That is what is achar.
Okay.
That could pertain to hygiene, that could pertain to mental, spiritual pursuit. It could be anything. It could range from anything small to anything big. Okay. Now, there is another word called desachar.
Yes.
Desachar is where these practices are put in the context of your community, your surrounding. So, for example, let us say there is this habit of making sarson ka saag. Okay. Sarson is mustard leaves. Okay. Where do you find these? Sarson ka saag is a very popular dish in Punjab. Okay. In that desachar, what happens is they make this very often in the winter times because this crop comes in the winter.
Yeah, but I never heard of that name. Sorry, but I never heard of that.
Sarson is mustard seeds, right? Mustard, not mustard seeds, but the leaves, the plant.
Yeah.
They take those leaves and they make like a saag, right? That dish. Why? Because mustard keeps you warm.
Warm, yes.
In winters, and that's growth in abundance in that region.
Yes.
Right? However, you will not see as much as the mustard seeds are used. It is not the leaves that are used in the south.
Yes.
Why? Because it doesn't get that cold.
Yes.
Simple as that.
Yes.
Right? So basically, when you say take a set of practices, you put it in that context, that becomes your desachar.
Desachar. Okay.
Desachar. Okay, so achar is your set of habits or something that
desachar is your community
desachar
and your
is you put it in your
region,
in your environmental context, your regional context.
Yes.
Now, what is kalachar? Kalachar is basically accepting and living with every individual's desachar.
Right. Okay.
So, I am an individual, I have an achar. As a community, as a region, I have my desachar. And kalachar is the overarching thing where I'm able to accept everything. I'm able to take the good things, but I still follow my own habits, but we live in harmony. That is culture.
Okay, so from state to country, we are stepping from states to country.
You could say, yes, you could say that. Right? Now, how does this concept of understanding culture help your stress management? Right? Let's come to that. Your stress happens when you are very unprepared for a situation.
Okay. Could we say when your achar is disturbed?
I'm sorry? Yes, you could say when you're disturbed. Correct.
Yeah.
Right? When you are disturbed. So where does the disturbance come from?
Yeah.
When you lack the ability to cope with something.
Yes. Right.
That's the bottom line, right?
Yeah.
If you're able to cope and do everything,
Yeah.
then there is no concept of stress.
Yes.
Here. So what does this understanding of culture tell you? It tells you that you have to have your own principles, which basically means you as a child, you grow up forming your own set of habits and principles.
Your own achars.
Yep. Correct, which is your achar.
Mm-hmm.
And then you understand how from your own community. How does that happen? By understanding the stories from your community, your traditions, what happens in your family, in your community, right? So the first step, what happens is you are understanding your own context in which you are revolving and you're growing up.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
2 is interdependence. The concept of interdependence comes into play. You are not constantly competing, but you are learning through cultural stories. How do you give and take? Because as adults, if you think about our lives, that's exactly what we do.
Okay.
In the office, we are not competing to be better than others. Instead,
okay, you need to explain that better, how we adults are handling that interdependency.
So let me tell you this. If I'm growing up with a community mindset, okay, let us say I'm giving you an example of a joint family.
Done. Yeah.
There are going to be many children. There are going to be many adults.
Yes.
Right? We all work as a single unit.
Yes.
Let's say there is another. There's like a chitti, mama.
Yes.
Whoever, atte,
yes.
Bua.
Yeah.
So someone is disciplining our child. Disciplining my child.
Got it. Yes.
What do? I say, yes, we are all one family.
Yes. Yes.
They are as much a mother to my child because they are there under the same roof.
Yes.
Helping me raise this child.
Yes.
That's why we say, raising it needs a
village. It takes a village to
raise a child.
Yep.
Right. So the inner meaning of that, it takes a village to raise a child, means that the child learns how to accept all these criticisms, comments, and well wishes from a variety of people, not just from mom and dad.
Oh my God, that makes so sense. Yeah.
Right. That's one way. The other way, the children are growing up with other kids in the same family. It's not like friends coming.
Yes.
Home, or we going to a friend's house. It's a very different thing, because you're actually sharing your resources not just in school but also at home.
At home. Yeah.
So everything becomes a community property.
Right. So that becomes your achar, basically. That becomes you, basically.
Your my personal thing, that thing of having that possessiveness naturally comes down.
Yes.
That is what happens to your desacha. That's what I'm trying to connect.
Yes.
Right? When you are growing up in a joint family, in a community system, that comes down. At least learning about the community stories.
Yeah.
Right? To give an example from my own life, while I was growing up, there was this grandma in the house who was the only grandma without a parent.
Okay, got it.
As a child, I would wonder, why is this party not having a tata?
Okay.
I would always wonder.
Yeah.
But later, I knew how she got married at a very young age, and she lost her husband within a few months of marriage.
Wow.
And unfortunately, she was widowed, and as the community would have it, she could not remarry, or she didn't want to remarry. I don't know the part, but she went on to study. She completed her B.Ed, and till her last living minute, she stood on her own legs.
Wow.
She was a teacher.
Wow.
She was a very popular teacher in Tirupati. Right? So, when you're learning about these stories, you automatically, subconsciously imbibe that strength. When something happens to you, oh, my grandmom, I know that grandmom, even in those years, she was such a strong woman.
Yes.
I have a lot more privilege today. I have a lot more exposure today. I know I can.
Yeah.
That's a natural thought that comes to a child. Not every child articulates what's running in their mind, but these things run in their mind.
Yes.
Okay, so that happens at a community level. And when you start understanding culture, diversity, when you go to school, you see some children are celebrating different festivals. We are celebrating different festivals. We pray differently. We eat differently.
Yes.
Understanding that, accepting theirs, but still understanding that school is a common space. I accept your personal beliefs, your personal practices, but I also learn how to live in the school, how to function in a school environment, which is a common space for you and me.
Wow.
That interdependence, that understanding of others happens when you understand culture.
Okay, got it. Oh my
right?
God. Yeah.
Now, when you have understood these three parts of the culture, you are basically addressing the foundational or the fundamental cause of a stress.
You know what? You made complete sense. You literally made complete sense. I grew up in a very nuclear family, and these things were very hard to learn. And I was lucky that my mother had 5 sisters. They were cousins. I mean, like own sisters, but they were like, I had cousins, but still, it's not the same thing. We did struggle where you're coming from, but oh my God, you made such a sense. But we do not have, unfortunately, we do not have that kind of communities and homes these days. Is that why you're in now?
Precisely. So we cannot. I mean, I'm not saying that we should all go back to living in joint families. It's not practically possible. Also, given the different expectations that we have. But what can we do? We can still do certain things to bring these cultural elements into the family.
Okay.
In terms of having conversations about it.
Yes.
In terms of telling the stories. In terms of talking about the struggles of other people who have come from the similar backgrounds, from the same community, how they have, how they have come up in life, how they have been successful, how in crossing those hurdles. How did they find peace?
You know what? I feel like you're working at a very micro level. When you're starting at that achar at home level is a very micro level, building up the personality. And then achar at the school level and understanding and interdependence on other cultures is like this achar. At another level, it's like building like bricks properly from the foundation.
Absolutely. And all of this is essential at various levels for the child to understand, accept life for what it is.
If
you're not setting realistic expectations for the child growing up, then they are growing up to be individuals who are not able to live in a society. That is why you check out all these communities in India, right? Take any apartment community, open their WhatsApp, you will see a lot of bickering, complaining, finger pointing. There is a lot of complaining. Very few people take the step to understand how we can all live in harmony together.
I get it. Recently, I saw this podcast, and there were 2 women speaking about how to raise a kid. Basically, the whole podcast revolves around how to raise your kid, right? And she was literally crying. She was crying, saying, someone said to me that it takes a village to raise a child, but where is the village? No village is supporting me. So what happened to the village around me? That's what I believed in. So what happened? So
there are two aspects. There are two aspects to it. Yes, it takes a village to raise a child, but before that, there are two aspects. One, you should be willing to ask. Two, we should be willing to accept.
No, and also you should be willing to live in that village, right? You're running away from that village, and then you want a village to come and raise your kid. So
precisely, see, I see a lot of cases around me, where I'll give you an example from my own extended friend circle, where I see women sometimes they want help, they want to flourish in their career. They either take the help of daycare centers. Or sometimes they go to their in-laws and parents for support, but they give strict instructions. When they give the child to childcare or leave the child in the daycare, there is, they accept whatever the daycare says.
Yes.
They don't have a choice. But when they leave the child with their in-laws or parents, there is this,
Yeah.
oh, he has to eat at this time. Oh, but even if he is hungry, wait, there is this bond that builds when mother feeds, so I will come and feed. A child's stomach does not function according to our calendar.
Yes. Yes.
A child will not function.
Yes.
So when you are trusting someone,
yes,
if it is in-laws, family, you should be willing to accept their way of caring for the child. After all, they have raised us.
yes,
They've raised the spouses that we have chosen.
yes.
Then why do we have problem with the way they are raising our children?
Yeah. I think we became so micro, like we have to do everything. It's all in under our control. That's where I think we were not worked in our achars and our desachars. That is why we are like this,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Think
Yeah.
about it. It's all interrelated.
Yes, it
And
is.
when you're
Definitely.
not
It makes
able
so
to
sense to
cope,
me right now. Yeah,
yeah,
it does. It does. Wow, why did you think like that? Like, where did all this come to you? Like, what did you find different? And I heard that you were living overseas before, right? You
yes.
came back to India. So what struck you that, okay, this is enough. There is something we have to change now. What is it?
So I have always, I grew up with my parents who were very religious, and my grandmother who was very orthodox.
Mm-hmm.
Now, growing up, I always had to say, "Oh, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that?" As
Questions.
any other child.
Yeah.
But some things were non-negotiable. I was genuinely interested in culture and all that, but there was still that line drawn for me.
So what
saying
would
that
you call those non-negotiable things as? Do you call those
going to the
achars?
temple,
No, I get
going
that.
to the
But
temple,
under
yeah.
those achars, so those are the achars of that household, right?
The habits inside the house,
Habits of
whatever
the house. Yeah.
house rules were very strict.
Yes. Yes.
If there was a festival, if it is Diwali, no way I can sleep till 10 in the
Yes,
morning.
obviously.
There's
Yeah.
no way.
Yeah.
5 o'clock, I'm up. And these things are actually becoming negotiable in many families now.
Yeah.
If
You
one
know what?
day
It makes sense because you also lived abroad. I'm going to tell you this. You know how we follow rules abroad, coming abroad, and we follow all the rules very strictly. But when it comes to our household or our traditions or our culture, if they ask us to
Correct.
do certain things in certain way, we ask so many
Correct.
questions. Just because you're not being fined, but you will get the effect later. You will pay the fine
Exactly.
later, definitely.
See, there is a sense of discipline that builds
Yeah.
in you. So coming back to that, so this is how I grew up.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, when I came back to India in 2017, I started exploring the education space. I wanted to understand how things were happening. I started exploring the education space. Me, getting my daughter to grow up in Indian culture with her grandparents was very important. And of course, both the sides, the parents are aging, and we really wanted to be with them.
Yeah.
So it was a very conscious choice. When I started exploring the education space, I started hearing the words stress and depression a lot
from the kids,
from students,
from the kids.
From the kids.
Wow.
Yes. I mean, if you see latest news also, I'm
why are these becoming the fancy words these days? Why are these becoming the fancy words?
It is what it is, right? We cannot because of the exposure.
Do you really think that they're really stressed, or they're just trying to,
I think it's a combination of both.
Both, yes.
Right. I think there's a bit of exaggeration.
Yeah, I agree too.
Not in terms of what they're feeling. Okay, they are definitely feeling stressed.
Yes.
But I think exaggeration is more in terms of using the depression casually in conversation.
Casually, very casually. That's actually more dangerous. Yeah.
Absolutely. Because they start to realize what depression means, and then there is a lot of subconscious things that happen. Which we can't even begin to explain, and I am not an expert at explaining what happens.
Yes, I get it. Yeah.
So when I heard these words from children, it started making me wonder. I was looking back at my own life, and I had a lot of struggles in my own life, in personal life and professional life. So the thought or the question I asked myself, how did I come through this?
Yes.
And it's and I was battling depression myself because I had 3 consecutive miscarriages. And my hormones went for a toss. And when that happened, the question is, how did I? For me, the no nonsense answer was, I had people around me who who supported
Yes.
me through and through.
Oh, yeah.
That's one. Two is every time I felt low, I always went back to the scriptures, especially Mahabharatam and Bhagavata Purana, because I related to those
Yes.
very, at a
Yes.
very core level.
Yes.
For me, I derived strength from these two things.
Yes.
One is reading the stories, and every single time I read those stories, I related to the characters very differently, depending
Okay.
on the state of mind that I was in.
At that moment. Okay.
Right? So the stories kept changing and giving me a different flavor based on my moods. How fascinating is that?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So that is, that was my realization, and I realized that obviously children of today are not getting that.
Yes.
So the question is, how do I bring the essence of these cultural stories to the next generation? But
Okay.
obviously, I have to make it in a fun way if I wanted them to address it. So that's how I went on.
What would you tell to those people that how come you found those only in Mahabharata or Ramayana? Is there anything other teachings which you did not find too?
Okay. Let me give you an example for this, or let me ask you a few questions.
Yeah.
Can you give me a few stories, any story, not just Indian, everywhere? Tell me some stories that talk about stepmother.
Stepmother? Oh, none actually. Nothing is coming to me.
Oh, there are so many fairy tales and all that.
Oh, yeah, the Cinderella. The Cinderella one. Yep.
Right. And
yeah. Nothing is coming on top of my mind.
Hansel Gretel.
Oh, Hansel and Gretel. Yes, 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 yes.
You have Snow White too.
Snow White, yes, yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move a little bit. Can you think of any stepmothers in Indian culture, Indian cultural stories?
Oh, the immediate thing for me is the Ramayana, in Ramayana. Yeah, immediate strike.
Kaikeyi.
Yeah, Kaikeyi, yes.
Kaikeyi.
Yes.
Okay, take a few seconds and think anyone else. This is a very quick test that I do with people to let them know why Indian stories are important.
Okay.
Or Indian cultural stories are important. Okay.
Yeah.
So when I asked you Western stories, you were able to quickly come up with all these Snow White and
Cinderella. I was like,
in all of this, the stepmother is wicked.
It is wicked. Exactly. With Kaikeyi also, the bad is related faster. I was saying that.
So when you came to Indian, the first person to strike was Kaikeyi. But do you also know that Kaikeyi was the most? She was very, very fond of Rama when he was young.
Yes, she was.
So she was very young.
Yeah, she was. She was.
At some point, her mind got corrupted
by Mandara.
She was
by
actually,
Mandara.
Yes. Yeah. But she did not ever harass Rama the way we see in Cinderella or other stories. Hansel and Gretel.
True.
Okay. But think about Indian stories, the way we have Kunti. She adopted Nakula and Sahadeva as her own children.
Yes.
How did she raise?
Yes.
When the Bakasura episode happened, she did not send Nakula or Sahadeva to be eaten by the Rakshasas. She sent her biological kid Bhima.
Yeah, and not only just that, just as you're speaking, I'm realizing that in all these Indian scriptures, I have to tell you this, you don't see mother as the only mother of that only one person. You feel all the other characters play the same mother role.
The point is, in the same Ramayana, Sita is adopted. Yes. Right?
Yeah.
Why are we not talking about Sita's mother and dad? Yes. When we talk about, they were not stepmothers, but they were adoptive parents.
Yeah.
So the point is this: in Indian cultural stories, we give shades of gray. We don't say someone is good, someone is bad, someone is right. Okay, it is all contextual. We talk about dharma. Dharma is a concept which is fluid, or there are different types of dharma. You have your individual dharma. You have contextual dharma. You have a dharma based on
have a country dharma.
Profession.
Profession dharma, country's dharma. Yep.
Exactly. So it is not black and white. It is shades of gray.
Yeah.
Now you tell me, when you were growing up versus now, are there families where the remarriages are more? Are children being raised by non-biological parents? Are more children being raised by non-biological parents? Imagine a child who is growing up reading only Hansel and Gretel, Cinderella, Snow White, is naturally
Good or
going
bad?
to look
Just
at
good and bad.
Exactly. It's naturally going to be inclined to look at that stepmother or stepfather in the bad light, the wrong light.
Yeah.
It's natural, right? That's what you're
reading. It makes so much sense because whenever we read the character of Kaikeyi, everyone in India who read Ramayana must understand that everybody knows that Kaikeyi is a very good-hearted person who loved Rama so much. Only in that particular situation, she said something, and later she didn't hate him. Later again, she still loved him the same way.
See, also think about this. She did not hate Rama.
No, she did
Let's understand it clearly.
No, she did not. Yeah.
She did not hate. She loved Rama.
Yeah.
But she asked Rama to go to the forest because she wanted her son to become the king.
Yes.
Okay, it's a very different thing.
Yes.
Okay, in Cinderella, the mother ill-treats Cinderella, the stepmother.
Yes.
She harasses her, she tortures her, she treats her as a maid.
Yes.
Here, Kaikeyi does not treat Rama as bad. In fact, the whole word Ramachandra came from Kaikeyi because Kaikeyi thought Rama's face was even brighter, even more beautiful than the moon. She had such great love for Rama. I think every story, every character, there is nothing like white and black. There's nothing black and white here.
No, in general, in life also, there is nothing black and white.
Precisely. Then why are we not looking
always
at
the dharma which you said, that contextual dharma, and that, that situation there. Yeah, that is so true.
Correct. Then why are we going to the stories which only talks about black and white or things in black and white?
Yeah.
Shouldn't we talking to children about shades of grey and getting them to prepare for real life, which is actually shades of grey? Yeah,
so true. Yeah. Wow.
That's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Wow. Wow, she nailed it, didn't she? Oh my God, you just nailed it. Oh my God, that answers so many questions and so many things what this generation is facing. Well, I'm not talking about my kids' generation. I'm talking about us too.
Absolutely. See, ours is a confused generation. At some point, we started to go drift away, and we wanted to explore. But here's the thing, right? At that age, all children do.
Yes.
When they are in their teens, they do question, which is a very good thing. They have to question rituals. They have to question the stories.
Okay.
But here is the thing: they will actually go against whatever we are teaching them. Okay. But when reality of life strikes them, they will understand and they will come back. The seeds that we sow when they are very young, that will bring them back, and that will help them find peace and solace in their adulthood. When they go through their identity crisis, when they go through their midlife crisis, whatever crisis.
So through all these, you're trying to literally teach a kid behavioral aspect, relationship with yourself, family, and outside world, which, oh my God, you're nailing how you said achara and desachara is basically that. And then also scriptures and traditions, which you're not trying to hold on to the next generations. Can you tell me a nice example of, oh my God, distress, anxiety, depression? These three in our scriptures, like is there any story that we could understand that, which will dissolve all these things like that?
So let me give you a story from the book called Krishna Avatara. It was written by Professor K.M. Munshi.
Okay? K.M. Munshi.
Yes, Munshi.
Okay.
There's before that, let me ask you a question. What do you think about the character Krishna? Okay, I'm just only going to call him a character. I'm not going to call him the Lord.
Okay.
In this Mahabharata, we all know that he played a big role.
Yes.
Right? He did not fight. He played a big role. And he almost always came across as a very assured person.
Yes.
Kind of he knew Okay, if I do this person will, okay, is that a very fair statement of your understanding of that character?
Yeah.
This is what a lot of people think.
Yeah.
The moment you think of Lord Krishna, we think him as Lord who knew everything, the past, present, future. Have we ever paused for a moment and thought there were so many moving parts in the thing? At one point, where the Pandavas escaped from the lacquer house. Now Krishna believes he knew, rather, let's say he was God, he knew everything, and he knew that Pandavas had escaped because he had also gotten the spies to come and tell him that they had escaped. Right? That book beautifully takes one chapter and it talks about the dilemmas that Krishna had. Okay,
at that moment.
So he sleeps. Okay, he has a dream where a lot of people are coming and he's going around and asking, what is your dharma? What is your dharma? What is your dharma? A Vaishya, a trades person comes and says, my dharma is to sell a lot, make a lot of money. He says, no, your dharma is founded in your sales mindset, in a greed for money, whatever, right? A butcher says, my dharma is only to cut the goat. He says, no, that's not my dharma. So he goes around searching for his own dharma.
Okay.
The Lord who talks about dharma, who has preached what dharma is, he's in that dilemma and he has this dream. It's very beautiful story. Okay. From this book. Whenever I read that story, one thing that strikes me is this. Imagine I am in this stressful situation. Okay, let us say that I'm running this company and I don't know how this company is going to go next. Assume.
Okay.
Now what happens is
you put everything in that company. Your life is at stake there. Let's pressurize it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to start thinking, okay, how am I going to pay my employees? That's like the micro level of it. At the macro level, what am I going to say? Oh my God, I started with so much passion. My dreams are coming down, shattering. Or something like, what are people going to think of me?
Wow.
Right? I'm going to think of all this. But imagine I'm going to read this story and I'm going to be like, imagine, this God that I look up to. He himself had this dilemma.
Yes.
What am I?
Yes.
What am I?
Yeah.
And how does that story end? He's like, fine. My dharma is to establish dharma. That's how he ends that dream. That's the realization he has.
Okay.
When I try to understand that in my context, what am I going to do? I'll be like, okay, my dharma is to do the right thing for the company.
Yes.
Let us break it down. I have to pay my employees next. Okay, can I take some debt? I'm sorted there. Bigger strategy. Can I go ask for help? I'll go to my mentors. So immediately the stress dissolves because I have actionable plans.
Okay.
Because of one thought.
Establishing
everybody goes through stress, including the God, and I am no one. So let me just understand what is my dharma. My dharma is to run the company. That is the only thing that is in my hand.
Yep.
When I get this realization in that moment, it makes a lot of difference than me just talking about it at multiple things.
Yes.
See, every day when I am in a good mood, I will say, what is there? Everything is God's grace.
Yeah.
When I'm in a good mood, it's easier to say that.
No, it is very easy.
When I am stressed, if I am able to say that, there is nothing more that needs.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that depression can be solved or cured. I'm not claiming that. I'm saying that despite the medication, people are not able to get over depression because they're not able to work on themselves.
See, I don't want to comment on this because it's a very sensitive topic to some people. But when there is always down, there is always up. You need to work out the steps to climb up again. So I don't know why we're only thinking about the down.
It is a biological thing. See, as a person who has fought depression, I know that it is a biological thing.
Yeah.
Okay, your medicines only get you to a certain point where you are able to think normally. But when you are thinking normally, you need to work on strengthening your thought process.
I disagree a little bit on that. I don't think your medicines will make you think normally. I think they will just relax you, which will
Absolutely. That's
abilize
what
you to, yeah.
correct. That's what I'm saying. Because at the end of the day, the medication is only to help the chemical balance in your brain.
Yeah.
Beyond that, if you want to strengthen the parts of your brain with positive memories, positive stories, positive thoughts, you have to work beyond the medication.
Yes.
That is when the acceptance comes. That's when the acceptance will lead to success and peace in life.
Yeah. So you literally believe that if we establish the childhoods with all kinds of you're basically telling the stories and making them understand that there are options. It's not just this way or that way. There are options which you can swim through and then learn yourself. So there is the very less chance of going through all the stress, anxieties, and depressions.
Let me rephrase it.
Okay.
By teaching them culture and keeping them rooted in culture and telling people these stories, they unconsciously and subconsciously, both unconsciously and subconsciously, they learn the shades of gray pertaining to real life. And when they learn that, they are better equipped to face the stresses of life.
You're equipping them basically.
Than succumb to it.
Yeah. Basically, you're equipping them with all you need for the life. Everything you need for the life. Okay, that's great. So what age is the best to start this equipping?
As soon as the child is born.
Wow.
Or even when the child is in the womb.
Yeah. Recently, I saw this mother who wants to do that when she was pregnant, and then 8-month-old baby. I think she got into the Guinness World Records as well. She's identifying the pictures. She made sure the baby learn everything. Yeah, she did teach her some, like apple and all that stuff. But the capabilities of a child that you could learn when you're in the womb.
It is definitely. See, there are so many stories even from Puranas that talk about it. Okay, so but it is definitely. I've heard a lot of doctors and scientists say that children can learn and understand. They can recognize their mother's voice.
I don't know, like you have to tell me this also. I heard that in brain there are like sectors. Recently, I learned this, that at this moment, this generation are using only one part of the brain, which is like only getting the feed and just acting according to that feed. They're not trying to go outside the box and try different things. It's literally empty. The other parts of the brain is literally empty.
So that is something that I've read too. I'm not an expert to comment on
Me
it.
too.
That is something
Me too.
that I also read. But it makes sense when I see what is happening. Okay, it speaks to me. That kind of an article speaks to me because see, for the most part, children are with the screens.
Yeah, you have to tell me this also. What would you tell to the mothers who say that, okay, my kid is watching the same scriptures which you're talking about in a cartoon mode, in an iPad, like this? So what would you tell them?
See, I'm not saying screen time should not be there at all, because as a mother of a 4.5-year-old, I understand how difficult it is to keep them away from screens. But having said that, can we sit and have conversations with them? Because these stories cannot just become an information.
Yes.
When you watch it on the screen, when a child is watching a story on the screen, it's not the stories themselves make a difference in the child. Yes, when the child is of a certain age, when they start to think for themselves, when they start to reflect, yes, these stories will make.
What age is that? Would you say? What age is that? Would you say?
I would say when the child is like 10 plus.
10 plus.
But until then, some hand holding and understanding child's interpretation of the story is important. Not to change their interpretation.
Got it.
But to understand their interpretation, also help them understand our interpretation of the story.
Yes. So they should understand that there are people who think in a different gray circle, not this gray. There are different grays and they think this way too.
Correct. See, for example, when I talk about stories, like our scriptures and Puranas have a lot of stories about killing, beheading and all that. Let's take the story of this Gajendra Moksha. Right?
Yeah.
There was
Wow.
this
Elephant. Wonderful story.
You see, Gajendra Moksham is a story where the elephant, who is an ardent bhakt of Vishnu, calls for help when a crocodile is, trying to eat up the elephant.
Yeah.
Now, what does the Lord do? He sends his chakra and beheads the crocodile.
Yes.
But when I tell this story to my 4-year-old, I don't tell it in this way. Okay. I say that till the point where the Lord is sending a chakra, it is all the same. But what does the chakra do? The chakra in my story that I tell my 4-year-old bumps the crocodile, and crocodile realizes its mistake and says, "Oh, I'm very sorry, Krishna." And then the crocodile changes its behavior and changes its attitude towards people like that. And the Gajendra elephant also goes and says, "Thank you to the Lord." This is how I say. For a 4-year-old talking about killing and all that is probably not necessary. Okay? But as the child grows, the child will understand that there is a punishment when you do adharmic things.
Yes. And when you said killing, in Gajendra Moksham, it literally doesn't mean that Lord is killing the crocodile. It is just telling us this is the right thing to do and this is not the right thing to do. It's not literal killing. Correct. Yeah. So your explanation of that gray part is I think it's necessary. You just don't have to,
And also whenever we say Lord Shiva is the destroyer, we don't. I mean, for that age group of children, I don't say destroyer. So I will say something like, "Oh, Shiva's Trishul touched him, and then he reformed into a good guy." Right? So it is not to say that it's okay to say these stories to slightly older children. When they are like 8, 9, 10, they start to understand and they are okay with it. To a 3-year-old, 4-year-old who listen to the story, they tend to imagine it.
Yes.
Make their own version in the brain, in their mind, and that for that child, do you want to show or tell such bloodshed stories?
No.
That does not mean you cannot tell the stories. Yes. You can tell the stories, but you can take the liberty to modify a few things and tell it. So that's why we make, at Chittam, we make games and books, everything according to the age group. So 0 to 6.
And I love, I think you're the first person who is not just doing the storybooks. You have a package. If it's a Sarathi, you have a package of drawing. That means you're involving the kid completely into it. It's not just a mother.
It's all activity. Yes.
It's all activity. So that I'm sure after your Sarathi package is done by a kid, he's completely aware of what it is. It's not just mother telling and,
True.
That's a really good way of doing it.
Every game of ours have an activity component to it. So like, for example, let's take Sarathi. Sarathi is an activity book for children 7+. And we have taken the stories from Bhagavata Puran, converted that into crosswords, riddles, Likita Japa.
Did you ever hear any kid asking you, why do we have to paint blue, Krishna into blue?
Absolutely. All the time.
Okay.
And you will actually find answers for all of these questions in
Sarathi. Obvious. Please go into Chittam. I'm going to give you all the details in the description. You're amazing, Charan. I have to, thank you for what you're doing. I'm bringing up people on my podcast who are really making a difference. I already told you about this. The way because Sudhamurthy ma'am, she's also doing her part of children's books and all that. Hats off to her too. But your way is also very new and very unique. How you're involving kids into, Okay.
Thank you so much for that. So definitely do check out our games, and we are trying to target children from 0 to 16.
Oh, and you're doing a puppet. What is that puppet thing? How are you trying? Bommalatam. Yeah. How are you trying to tell a story through that?
So if you see today, if you search for puppet kits for children, you will not find very traditional Indian puppetry. But the ones that
Shall I tell you something? I never saw a puppet show in my life. Never.
Oh my God, you must. Next
Really?
time you're in
Never.
India, you must give me a buzz, and maybe
Sure,
I can
definitely.
guide you to where the puppet shows are happening.
Yeah.
Every state in India has its own form of puppetry.
Yeah.
And it's called in a different name, and it has there are distinct differences in what is performed, how it is performed, how the story is said, what story is being said, and all of that. So the kit that we have created has Pancha Pandavas and Draupadi. They are handcrafted soft toy kind of puppets, and we give a theater. And we've also rephrased a couple of stories, a couple of lesser known stories from Mahabharata. And we also tell the children about the history of Indian puppetry in the booklet, and we also tell them how to perform a puppet show.
Okay.
So children actually take the dolls as their own, they start performing.
Yeah.
But in the process of telling the story, they have to understand their characters. So they start delving deep, understanding these valorous heroes. Their and what is interesting is
their traits as well. Yeah.
Yes.
I'll conclude and then I'll come to the next point is that, okay, so when we're looking at Ramayana or Mahabharata, which is like ages ago and everything, or something happened in your life yesterday, some kind of situation happened in your life yesterday, the way you look at it is very important. That's crucial. So these scriptures or these things will enable you or equip you to look at it properly, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. And you're also doing this amazing thing of making kids learn about environment as well. So I think it relates to scriptures too, because I think Indian culture is one culture where you worship a tree to snake to, we worship mitti, the sand to everything. So is that why you're doing that too? Like making them live consciously, environmentally as well?
See, again, as I would say, culture has multiple aspects to it.
Yes.
Culture is not just Itihasa, Purana, or anything. It is also when you
The
walk
lifestyle.
into the store, it's your lifestyle.
It is lifestyle. Yeah.
So it is. So when you are, so I'll give you an example. There is a book called My Aadhaar. It's an activity book where we have asked 21 intriguing questions to children. The questions are basically to help them understand their own family, their traditions, and their land. Okay. This is what is the book about. So we have questions like
you can shoot a few to me, maybe. I'm not a kid, but I'll try.
It's not only for kids. It's actually for families.
Okay, please do shoot. Yeah.
So how far in your family tree, how back can you go in your family tree?
2 generations, hardly.
So, but if you ask your parents, they will be able to tell up to 3 generations.
Yes.
You go ask your grandparents, they will do. So suddenly you have like 5 generations in your kitty.
Yes.
You know that, right? Yes. So you can even ask questions. Why is it important to know your roots? You need to understand. Sometimes we make decisions, that we don't understand. Sometimes we behave in a way that we ourselves don't understand.
Yes.
We all believe in genetics, right?
Yes.
Isn't it then important to know your family tree?
Yes. True.
So, so we ask questions like that. Very interestingly, sometimes I ask children, where does your water come from? And invariably, all these children can be RO plant and bottle, mineral water bottle. They say, tap. These are the answers that I get. I'm not joking.
You know what I'll tell you? I asked my son once when he was in primary school. Now he's in high school. He's finishing 12. Where does the cotton come from? And he's like, doesn't it come from a factory, Amma? Doesn't it come from the shop? I'm like, it comes from a plant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Children don't. But think about it. In the Indian context, a child is walking through this particular lake or pond or river. And the child does not even understand that the drinking water for the child is coming from this. What will instigate or what will empower the child to keep that water body clean?
Oh, yeah.
Do you think if I know that my water is coming from this lake, I will have the heart to go litter it?
Yeah. Why are they not knowing it? I don't get it.
They don't know because we are not teaching them. We are not asking these questions to them. That's the fundamental thing, right? You need to ask these questions so you instigate the child to go find out. So it's an activity book where they find their own answers with their family members. They mark it down in the book itself, and that becomes a keepsake for them that they can, pass on to multiple generations after. So even this, like when they go to school, there are so many statues here. How many children know who these people are? What is
Why
the story?
children?
Why
I don't know like half of them. Why do we have to go until children?
Why are we not taking that moment to pause?
Yes.
Think?
Yes.
Why are we not observing things around? All
Yes.
of this is culture.
Yes, it is.
So it's not just about keeping the environment friendly. It's not only about one thing or two things. It's about generally how we live. What is the relation? What is this intrapersonal relation? What's the relationship I have with myself, with my family, with my environment, with my community, with the nation at large?
Yes.
All of this is culture.
Yes. Yes. Wow.
So that's exactly what
I think through this podcast we gave mostly the flavor of Chittam. If you, I'm definitely sure you just covered everything. What is Chittam, and basically, oh my God, you're empowering the next generation with Chittam. I could say empowering, equipping, enabling.
You're trying.
Oh, you are. You are with a very good clarity. Thank you so much for doing that, Sharanya. Thank you so much for giving me a little bit part of it to bring through, my medium. So whatever I can do. Thank you so much for what you're doing. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. I wish you very best in the work that you're doing.
Same. Thank you.